$1 trillion. Trillion. With a T. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're literally witnessing an unprecedented milestone in human history. We are unpacking the profile of Elon Musk, the man who officially just became the world's very first trillionaire. But hey, today, we aren't just going to stare at staggering numbers. We're actually going to deconstruct the man, his sprawling empire, and the controversies behind this historic wealth to really understand how we got here.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's exactly how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of his wealth as the first trillionaire. Then we'll trace his origin and ascent. Next up, upending industries, followed by his massive shift into the political arena. And finally, we'll look at his endgame for the future of humanity.
All right, part one, the first trillionaire. To truly wrap our heads around Elon Musk today, we absolutely have to grasp the staggering scale of his wealth. It's a level that's honestly kind of difficult to even conceptualize.
$500 billion. Phew, just a short while ago, in October of 2025, that was his net worth. To put that into perspective for you, at that point, he was already sitting comfortably ahead of tech titans like Google's founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. So being the richest person on Earth, that's one thing. But hitting $500 billion? Honestly, that was just the warm-up act.
Now, what's really interesting about this is, how exactly do you double $500 billion? Well, rockets. In June 2026, his rocket builder and satellite operator company SpaceX officially went public. And wow, what an initial public offering it was. The firm raised a whopping $75 billion ahead of the highly anticipated IPO. Then, when those shares hit the US tech-heavy NASDAQ, starting at a listing price of $135 a share, they immediately traded up over 20%. Because so much of his personal net worth was tied up in SpaceX stock, that massive market debut was the ultimate catalyst. It officially pushed his net worth past that $1 trillion mark. Unbelievable.
Section 2, Origin and Ascent. You know, no one accidentally becomes a trillionaire, right? So we have to ask, where on earth did this unprecedented drive come from? Let's trace his journey from childhood all the way to his early tech successes.
Look, his beginnings were far from easy. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, Musk has openly described his childhood as pretty difficult. He dealt with his parents' messy divorce, intense bullying at school, and his own personal struggles picking up on social cues because of Asperger's syndrome. But you know what? That early entrepreneurial spark was absolutely undeniable. At just 12 years old, he was already coding and developing his own computer game, and he'd be out there hustling, selling homemade chocolate Easter eggs door to door with his brother. And at the earliest opportunity, he left home. He moved to Canada, then straight to the US to study economics and physics at the Ivy League University of Pennsylvania. He was even accepted into a physics graduate program at Stanford University. But, true to form, he quickly dropped out during the 1990s dot-com boom to found 2 different tech startups.
To really understand his psychology, listen to this fascinating observation from his first wife, Justine Musk. And this is from a 2010 Marie Claire essay. She met him back in college and noted that even before the millions, he was not a man who takes no for an answer. She recalled him telling her while they were literally dancing at their wedding reception, "I am the alpha in this relationship." It perfectly juxtaposes his awkward, bullied past with the fiercely dominant, relentlessly competitive business persona that was about to completely take over the tech world.
Section 3, Upending Industries. That relentless need to dominate? Well, it fueled a massive, high-stakes corporate rise.
His ventures are really defined by immense highs and very, very real lows. Remember those early 90s dot-com startups? One of those eventually became PayPal, which sold to eBay in 2002 for $1.5 billion. But instead of retiring to a beach somewhere, he plowed that entire fortune into SpaceX and Tesla, 2 companies that are widely credited with totally upending their respective industries, even when they veered dangerously close to financial collapse. But hey, it's not all exponential growth. When he purchased Twitter, which is now X, for $44 billion back in 2022 to build an everything app, its value actually plunged down to an estimated $9.4 billion. Reports suggest this steep drop was driven by an increase in hate speech on the platform during his tenure, which led several major companies and advertisers to pull away just to avoid the association.
Despite that, his potential earnings from Tesla remain absolutely astronomical. Throughout 2024, Musk was locked in this bitter legal battle over a massive pay package. A Delaware judge initially rejected it, but then, in December of 2025, the Delaware Supreme Court reinstated the whole thing. Now he faces some seriously ambitious targets over the next decade to actually secure it, a deal that could potentially be worth over $1 trillion on its own. He needs to grow Tesla's value eightfold, sell 1 million AI robots, and sell 12 million Tesla cars. It is, by all accounts, a monumental task. Naturally, this chaotic but visionary leadership style has earned him a fairly controversial public image. He's been dubbed both a mad genius and a massive troll. He's known for these lofty, world-changing ambitions, but also for petty public fights and major lawsuits. Case in point, a lawsuit he filed against OpenAI and Sam Altman, which a California jury actually tossed out in May 2026 simply because he waited too long to file it. But here's the thing, Musk is surprisingly frank about his own contradictions. In a 2022 TED Talk, he openly acknowledged his flaws, but firmly stated his belief that his positive impacts absolutely outweigh them.
All right, Section 4, the political arena. Those perceived impacts we just talked about, they go way beyond electric cars and rockets now. Let's take a look at how Musk has increasingly started using his immense wealth and social media ownership to influence global politics.
His political identity has undergone a seriously dramatic evolution. For years, Musk resisted labels. He called himself politically moderate and voted for Obama and Biden. But recently, that shifted sharply. He became highly critical of Democratic policies, calling them woke, and officially endorsed Republican Donald Trump for the 2024 election. And this brilliantly illustrates that shift. He poured massive resources into the campaign, including his America's Super PAC, running a highly controversial $1 million giveaway in battleground states. After the election, Trump actually appointed him to lead the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. However, this partnership completely imploded over a public clash regarding a tax and spending bill, it devolving into a bitter feud full of personal insults, and Musk ultimately announced his departure from the White House on May 28, 2025. Though fascinatingly, the source notes that the feud has seemingly thawed out, with Musk recently joining Trump on a trip to China.
And his political interventions aren't just limited to the US either. He's taken a very active interest in the UK, using X to criticize Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour government on immigration. Starmer actually accused Musk of trying to whip up division over the protests following the murder of Henry Nowick in June, though Musk pushed back hard against those claims. Furthermore, Musk has aligned himself with prominent right-wing figures like Tommy Robinson. In 2026, ahead of local English elections, Musk even threw his public support behind Rupert Lowe's newly formed Restore Britain party, stating on X, "It will win, it must win, to save Britain." These interventions have drawn heavy scrutiny from MPs across the political spectrum, and it's raising serious, ongoing questions about the sheer level of influence a single foreign billionaire holds over domestic discourse.
Section 5. The future of humanity. Let's step back for a second. What is actually driving all of this relentless business and political maneuvering?
14. Let that number sink in. Elon Musk has fathered 14 children across multiple partners. Now, you might be wondering, why does a tech titan's family size matter to his global influence? Well, because Musk genuinely believes that population collapse, when combined with the rise of superintelligent AI, is a far bigger existential risk to the world than global warming. He literally views having this many children as doing his own personal part to combat an underpopulation crisis.
However, his personal life and his grand technological ambitions collided in a deeply troubling way recently. In January 2026, conservative influencer Ashley St. Clair, who shares a child with Musk, sued his AI company xAI. The lawsuit stems from the company's Grok AI generating non-consensual, sexualized deepfakes of her. It starkly highlights the real-world harm and incredibly messy friction between his absolute free speech goals and the rapid, largely unchecked development of AI.
So what does this all mean? What is Elon Musk's ultimate goal for humanity? Well, he claims he isn't just out here making money. He says he created xAI to understand the true nature of the universe. When you synthesize this insatiable drive, his trillion-dollar wealth, his push for multiplanetary life, and his deep fears of demographic collapse, you are left with a staggeringly complex profile. Is he a visionary desperately trying to save humanity from itself, or is he a chaotic force wielding unchecked global power? I'll leave that for you to ponder. Keep questioning everything, and I'll see you next time.